Okay, you all are live.
All right, good morning. It is October 7th, 9 a.m. This is the Public Services and Facilities Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Do we have any citizens' comments?
Should we do roll call?
Doesn't appear. Oh, yeah. Should we do roll call?
Here.
Scott Pierce?
Yeah.
Katie Myers, here. All right. Oh, there's Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
No citizens' comments, correct?
Correct.
Since there's no one here. Approval of previous meeting minutes?
Motion to approve, and I got just a quick question on it, but go ahead. Do we need to second it before?
Second.
Just a quick update or inclusion that I'd like to request is I think at the last meeting, when we were going through the beach stuff, we were talking about what's going on up at Ocean Club. And we were trying to get, I think we had requested that, we do some kind of an internal assessment about what the city role is for structural engineering reviews. And I'd like to have that reflected in the minutes. And then at some point, Douglas, I guess we've got to decide. I don't know, you've been up there, I've been up there.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with the foundation and the water lapping underneath it again. I don't know if the city even has a role or not, but I think we should find out what, if any, our role is and maybe solicit
Yeah, we
any
can-
legal advice that we need to solicit.
Yeah.
But I'd like to have that reflected in that last month's minutes and also in this one that's requested.
Yeah, so we do, we've been in contact with the city of Charleston, who does do a program of inspections after the fact, after a building's complete, kind of what led to, what's the name, Dockside?
Yeah. And we're outsourcing now, right, all of our inspections?
Well, they have a specific ordinance that they pass locally that allows them to do that, that if we were of a mind to get into doing that, we potentially could. It would take a new ordinance to do that. And so it's not on the agenda today, but we've done some research and be happy to report that out.
And I
So
think that-
basically, the way that it stands for the Isle of Palms today is once a building is complete, you're on your own.
That's exactly right. And that's
So
kind of.
if the people down there at Ocean Club have, and this is something that I just kind of feel like we need to have on the record, because I don't want people thinking that I don't want people waiting for us to do something. So if someone lives down there, owns down there, and has concerns,
It's a private.
it is
it's-
a private
That's correct.
building, and it is not the city's responsibility.
That is correct. And we would not go in and require inspections
And we
after
don't have
the
the
fact.
right, we don't even have
We
the right
don't
to do so.
currently have the right to do that. It's outside of the scope of our existing codes.
Right.
Council could consider an additional ordinance, which is what the city of Charleston did, that gave them that right.
Did they just do that?
No.
It's been there for a
Yeah,
while.
it's been there for a while.
Okay, and I guess where I would ask, and I think this is an isolated case, I'm not sure what we would want to do, going forward with a broader thing, but, since we've been participating in the beach management there, I still think it would be worthwhile getting some advice on, if there's any involvement with the city on this particular isolated case.
Not in terms of beach management, but in terms of the structural
Well, yeah,
integrity of the building.
Because we've been participating in, quote, providing some protection for that isolated property. I just want to make sure that we're okay. I'd like to get just, maybe Matt can take a look at it.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right, that being said, approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Yeah, with that change, approved?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, marina tenants' comments, again, the room is empty, so I assume none. Presentations, none. Old business, discussion of the next steps regarding the marina parking lot.
So just kind of for a quick, to get us back to where we are currently, council authorized the staff to work with the attorneys to revise the leases to make this change possible. We heard from the tenants before we engaged the attorneys that they would only consider authorizing, agreeing to those lease amendments or changes if they knew ahead of time that the city was willing to pay for the improvements to make the rearrangement of parking happen. We had a meeting on site, kind of talked about the range of costs that could be and what they would be willing to accept in terms of a new surface. You have kind of on the low end of the low end of the spectrum, probably a $50,000 project, which would be extending that ground-up asphalt that's in the employee lot, extending that really just across the entire surface, and then redesignating the drive aisles just in parking stops, not curbs, not landscaping, not a new drainage system. On the other end of the spectrum, you have kind of an arrangement that would closer match what the Marina store has done. We think that's in the neighborhood of about $500,000. And again, I guess they're telling us that without knowing kind of the city's position on paying for those improvements, they wouldn't be willing to consider a lease amendment. So what I would like to get back from council is a willingness to do that. Is there a willingness to do that? And if so, at what level? I mean, I think there's one lens you could see it through as it's a city asset, and it should be cohesive in appearance, and it should be kind of a Cadillac improvement, which is generally, if it's the city's improvement, it's to that level. The other level could be kind of at the other end, is it's an asset that's really already under lease, already controlled by a tenant. So you're willing to do the work, but do it at the minimal expense to the city. That would, or obviously the other option is we're not willing to do it at all. And if that was the case, we've heard back that there wouldn't be a willingness to amend the lease.
Okay, just a couple of quick questions. Katie, I don't know if you've seen, you just laid out a wide spectrum of options. I don't think we've seen any of them here at the committee, and to bring it to council without kind of fleshing some of those out and bringing it all up there, I think we should, have you been involved in any of those conversations at all?
No, I have not.
So why don't we get, maybe request either John, Dave, or whoever to come to the next meeting, and why don't we sit down and kind of walk through the 50 to 500 options on the record here and see what, what we've got for options to be able to pursue. And then realistically, we can take a look at what we've got budgeted and non-budgeted. I think we ought to identify that before we spin it up to a workshop in council. And
Yeah, the green, we already have money budgeted
for the green space.
for the green space.
Yeah.
How much do we have for that?
I need Deborah here. I think it's around 100,000. It's not, I don't think it's enough to do.
It's not 500.
It's not 500, yeah.
And I have a call in, or I have a request in to the people at Surf, trying to find the right person to talk to find out how much their parking lot cost. That one that I've been talking about up in Allendale. Because my gut is that that's somewhere in a happy medium.
Yeah, and there's, those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum.
I
and
gotta
we could
believe it's a
definitely-
lot cheaper than the hardscape. And more drainable. I mean, while the marina's parking lot, while these parking spaces themselves are, quote, drainable asphalt, you're still gonna have a good bit of runoff. And being that this parking lot is kind of closer to, more of it is right up against the intercoastal, I kind of feel like we need to be conscious of that also. Those are just kind of like gut reactions. I'm not 100% sure on the science of it, but it
nice.
feels that way to me. I mean, just from seeing the marina when it's raining, yes, water can drain through that drainable asphalt, but it's,
I think the other thing that might be helpful too is, the restaurant, I think, contributed quite a few extra dollars over the last year or so, and it might be helpful to see what the projected contribution above and beyond the rent, which is going into it should be going into the marina fund, and then what the terms of the lease are and that kind of stuff. So all those things, I think, come into play. What do you think?
So options in terms of cost and surfacing, budget, just kind of where it would come from in the budget, and the revenue generated by the marina.
Yeah, I mean,
Projections
is
over
it
the future.
possible that, we could get some sort of cost sharing if we were to, give them a break on their overage that they're paying or something along those lines? Because, I mean, the leases lay out the fact that
Pretty clear.
the shared parking is our responsibility completely,
That's correct.
but the other two are theirs. So, our responsibility for maintenance is sadly just keeping it
Yeah, right.
the
Bare minimum.
the dirt lot that it's been for all time, and I think I was actually joking that it's saving us money because we don't have to have speed bumps because of all the potholes, so, natural speed bumps.
Yep.
You
might-
certainly can't drive fast through there.
Well, it might be helpful too to know kind of the expected life of these options. If it's a $50,000, throw some curbs down, we're going to have those speed bumps forever.
Right.
Versus if we invest in the middle of the road, is that going to take us through the term of the lease kind of thing? I think that would be helpful.
Yeah,
So
because
what's
I gotta
the
believe,
investment
there's a lot more maintenance on the way that the lot is now.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much every time it rains, it gets flooded out.
Anyway, gave you a lot there.
Yep.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it warrants one more cycle through here before we pop it up to the workshop or whatever.
All right, we can do that. I don't know if John and Dave will agree to come. I'll certainly invite them. They are always
Or
invited.
Even if we get all
Or
the
we could-
information, they're more
Yeah,
than welcome.
We could talk to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I'll extend the invitation again to them, but either way, we'll have more information
Yep.
in November.
All right. Update on the Waterway Boulevard project. This is one of those that,
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, one quick
Oh.
thing. Did you see Jim's note on the ADA? I just wanted to,
Yes.
is there,
Yeah, and I don't know we have hired Klein specifically to look at the parking arrangement. He has consistently had an ADA path shown from the store to the docks, shown as I think that's a carryover from, because Klein also did the work for the store. There's no intention or plan to change the ADA access that's there now. It is shown on that plan, but it's not an improvement that's being thought about.
okay, can we just maybe take a look and get a response back? Is it adequate or not adequate? I don't know the answer to that. Is it?
Response back.
But for Jim, I mean, he was concerned about the access, I think, and whether it's adequate or inadequate to be able to actually use it. I think it probably, maybe, I just don't know what the answer is to that.
Yes, we responded. We do respond to Jim.
all right, so Waterway Boulevard project, how's it coming?
So, just spoke to the general contractor this morning. So there are really two contractors working. There is True Luck is the general contractor. In practice, they are doing all of the stormwater work and the kind of heavy earth moving. They also did the construction of the retaining walls. Their work as of this morning, they feel like is completed. They then have a subcontractor who is really the golf end of the work, so they're doing the kind of, they're meshing the project into the golf course, so they're doing the top dressing of soil, shaping of the fairways, and the grassing. So the heavy earthwork is done. The shaping and the grassing and the final part will be the paving is still to come. All of it is being lined up for paving on the 15th, which is kind of their day, but they do expect that they would be paved and out of there and completed
Great.
close to, if not, on time. They have continued to work almost daily with Wild Dunes and their staff on, being sure that they're doing things as the golf course wants them and to meet their schedule. So they're working well together, and it's progressing very well.
Awesome.
We've had a little bit of, Robert has been working, as you will recall, I think there's 4 properties that are, we called them in our budgeting Phase 1A. Robert's been working with them individually. That's been a little bit kind of, each yard is being treated differently. I do think that we had to add a pipe. We had a built-in contingency amount to what was authorized by city council. We're still well within that, but I think that's progressing well. We've been.
Those homeowners, we're, I think, almost complete there. The one homeowner, we did like a redundant system in his property, only because he was the start of what that drainage line then went all the way down to 30th Avenue and then to the outfall. So what we did is we added another pipe inlet. So there is a redundancy there just in case his property were to not take advantage of the one inlet on the one side, so. But yeah, those homeowners are all happy. The contractors have been great through this project, and it's really moved along well with little or no hiccups. But I think a lot of that too is Wild Dunes has been on top of this. I mean, irrigators, because they're working a lot in abandoned golf cart paths, so there's a lot of abandoned irrigation lines. So there's been this constant back and forth. But this project, I will say, has gone smooth, knock on wood, too.
Yeah,
It's not
they took our sense of urgency seriously
Yeah.
and have really gone at it quickly, and so very pleased with how that's played out. We are working on of course, we have right on the heels of this, the next phase, which as you will recall, there is a grant with a deadline of February. So we're working with Thomas and Hutton to get all of that work out to bid and underway to take advantage of that grant.
That's still looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we're going to be, we also are still trying to work on pushing, we would be doing things a little bit out of sequence if we don't get a grant extension, so it could be done. It would be, we would be capping some work that we would prefer not to have to cap. If we had all the permits in hand, the environmental permits, we'll have everything else, but with any luck, we would either have the environmental permits soon, or we would have an extension to the grant deadline to allow it to go how it really should go. But we have contingency plans to make it work kind of either way, assuming that one of those doesn't pan out, which seems to be the way it goes for us.
So when is like groundbreaking on that?
We don't have a, and I think I put a,
Or what's
think I have
what's the ideal or the goal? Or
so really the goal would be to have had $1 million worth of work in the ground by February. That's kind of that's the goalpost.
That's without an extension.
Without an extension. Yeah, if we get an extension, we will delay that until.
Any update on that request, or?
No, we do have our federal lobbyists working on that as well. So we're kind of pushing as hard as we can, but I mean, now we have a shutdown and
Yeah.
it's, FEMA has always been unresponsive. You add a shutdown in there, I'm guessing it's gonna get even more so. So, Katie, to your question, we would be getting bids through to the end of January. It's
Okay.
kind of our schedule on that.
All right. Anything else on that? Good.
No.
Next thing is update on beach projects.
Well, when this went on the agenda, I had one thing in my mind, and through the course of the weekend, it now
It's
has
changed.
changed, yeah. So the last council talked about the beach. We had, you all authorized about $500,000 worth of bags split between the Breach Inlet end, the Seascape condominiums, and the Beechwood East area. The contractor has now installed the bags at the Breach Inlet end, that's complete, installed bags at the Seascape area, and is in the Beechwood East area now. Given the, so if things hadn't unraveled this past weekend, those bags would be in place by the end of this week. But because of what we're dealing with, and it is not practical, and they can't get enough bags out quickly to give any protection to what's happening now, we have authorized some emergency scraping in the Beechwood East area. They will be, at each low tide, they will be out scraping in front of those properties and just putting a buffer. There is an existing line of bags. Of course, the water is breaching over that line of bags, taking out the.
Those are the old bags.
The old bags.
They're the ones that were buried and we lost all that volume, yeah.
That's correct, yep. So they will be placing sand behind those old bags between now and Thursday, which we think is the kind of peak of this tide cycle. And then as soon as the tide cycle subsides a bit, they're going to go back to putting the bags that have already been authorized by council. Stephen Trainum with CSE plans to be at the workshop next Tuesday. There are other options that the city could consider, and he'll go through those options. And if council is of a mind to fund additional work, that opportunity would be there Tuesday night.
Can we kind of walk through, when we approved it, it was 550,000, 1,200 bags, and the presentation said we were going to lay down the volume, even with just a single thread, was like 75 bags a day. So when you kind of walk through that, I guess I'm kind of wondering, let's say we do this again. I mean, it was, quote, an emergency situation, and the unfortunate outcome is that we didn't get them laid down at Beechwood East in time. And so when I kind of walked through the whole project plan and didn't really know that they had, what the status was, do we need to get to contract, when I think emergency, it's get things done as fast as we can. And we kind of know what the tide schedules are, so it's not a huge surprise for us. How do we, in the next phase, if we're going to start doing, continuing in this cycle, ensure that we get everything deployed for the tide cycle? And I know we can't control that, but it is unfortunate that, and I don't know if they're working working around the clock or working weekends for the deployment. Again, if it's an emergency situation, I would expect we'd get everything out as fast as we can, knowing what's coming. How do we ensure that we don't end up in a situation where we've got empty pallets of sandbags sitting right outside the houses that are getting beaten on with the waves?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like, hindsight's always 20/20, but could we have done something different to have deployed those bags before this known tide cycle was coming?
Well, and to your point, they do put down about 75 bags a day when they're placing bags, but they do have, and it does seem like they will have 4 or 5 days between, getting set up. They then have to change locations. So each time they kind of get cranked up, there is a 5-day kind of gap in there. In hindsight, we probably could have gotten
Do they
bids.
work weekends or no?
I can't say they worked every weekend. I know that they worked, I do know that they worked at least 2 of the, and I feel like they've been
I'm just trying to align emergency versus what happened. And I just think that if we're going to do this again, and I don't know if this is something, is Steve managing these folks, or are you managing these folks,
Yeah.
or who's managing?
We both are.
Okay.
And I do think that, so their goal was to be done by October 1st. Whether it was, again, hindsight's 2020, they were engaged by private individuals. That got them off track. At Breach Inlet, they were hired kind of outside of the city's work to work for individual owners. That was the better part of a week. The same attempt was made at Ocean Club, so that seems to happen. They kind of get into an area, they stay in an area beyond what the original plan was. So we could,
What you just said, that's like a private dilution of our resources in order to
Yeah,
deploy
that-
to, I mean, the damage up at Beechwood East is another, I don't mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. Forget about the money, but just the, these folks are in dire straits, as we all know. And what you're telling me is that we allowed our resources to be diverted, and now we're in a situation where we've got maybe
Well-
some avoidable damage. I don't know the answer to that, but that's not.
Yeah, we didn't
Hopefully
allow that.
Next time we go forward, do we need two contractors? And
Well, this also goes back to something that I feel like I've said at almost every meeting that we've had, that we've ever talked about the beach, is that Wild Dunes needs to be a part of these conversations. I don't understand, I mean, it's part of it is inaccessible beach. It is Wild Dunes money that they have a beach, they're paying into the Beach Renourishment Fund. They have the transfer fee money, and they don't have a seat at the table, so they're getting they're getting pushed back by work that's done on the south end of the island. It just, we've got to get Wild Dunes engaged in these conversations. And there has to be someone at Wild Dunes that we can speak to, that we need to have, we need to have someone involved. Because there's people that live in Wild Dunes that have these properties that are right on the water, and they're upset with us because we haven't done the work to get the sandbags out. But then again, they could hire their own they could do this on their own. If they knew that it was going to take this long, maybe they would have. I feel like we're not communicating well enough with them. And again, that's because we keep saying they and them, and who are these people? Is there one person that we can speak to? Can we have somebody come and sit down literally at the table with us and talk and try to figure out a better solution going forward?
So Wild Dunes has made it very clear that they do not want to fund emergency work. They don't think they have told us that time and time again, that
So when you say they, who is they? Who's saying that?
it goes through their manager from their board.
you're talking about Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dave prior to Andrew, and Andrew now, and I think that comes from his board.
His association board, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
They've always indicated a willingness to share in the big projects, large efforts, but they have never, in all their 30 years of dealing with erosion, they have very specifically shied away from emergency work.
And I think he's willing to, we've traded some emails and some other, I think he's willing to come to have the
Yeah.
conversation, so we probably need to get him here and have that.
Yeah.
I think he's willing to have the conversation.
I
You
just,
want me to invite Andrew to?
You want him to come to the next meeting?
yeah, that would be great. I don't see how we can keep doing this without having some sort of understanding of,
Their position?
yeah.
Yeah, I think they've made their position clear, but you could
Well,
Clear that.
they haven't made it clear in public, and maybe that's the problem. Because I don't know their position. And when we say they, I don't even know who, you know, I mean, are we talking about the resort? Are we talking about the property owners? Are we talking about a combination of the two? You know, and if,
Yeah, I'm referencing the community association.
Okay.
I have not had, and I don't know,
I think it would help us. I think just having Andrew or somebody like that at the table, because we've got the nourishment coming up, and we need to really be aligned, and I think they're willing and should be involved, and.
yeah.
but I mean, if it's their position not to do emergency work, then, I mean, why, and then what's the alternative? Because it looks like we're gonna have, sadly, like a good amount of emergency work in between now and whenever it is that we, you know, actually get the
Well, I think to
next
your point,
nourishment.
if they knew, you know, if they knew that we weren't going to be able to deliver, then they might have gone out on their own, but we kind of made the commitment that we were doing it at least in that cycle. So,
Right.
yeah, I think some of the residents are willing to participate, it sounds like. I mean, they're willing, if they don't think the city's coming or we're going to do it, or Wild Dunes Association, that's where we just got to get all the parameters well defined as to who's willing to do what and who's not, and then if they're on their own, they're on their own.
Yeah, individual owners have, they have funded some work independently of the city's work in Wild Dunes, but,
And at the other, and on both ends.
and on
Yeah.
both ends, that's right.
Okay. Anything else on the project, or?
No.
So we're waiting for the workshop now for another cycle.
Right, to discuss other options that the city has, that would happen at the workshop.
All right.
So what is the actual, the big beach renourishment that we're in the permitting phase of that?
Yes.
Have we completed those permits? Where are we
Yeah,
on that?
they have been submitted. I think we're typically told that that process takes close to a year.
When were they submitted?
Maybe 3 weeks ago. I can give you the date, but
Okay,
probably.
so sometime in September.
Yes.
And so we're looking at the very earliest sand on the beach would be October of '26? Or longer than
Probably
that?
later than that.
Yeah, I mean, we have also been having a lot of conversations with OCRM, now BCM, about their process and if they could, you know, whatever they could do to hurry up the permitting. Their staff seems very receptive to the idea of streamlining that as much as they can. There's obviously regulatory notice requirements for timing, but in terms of the staff work between those steps, they've indicated that they would rush that along as much as they can.
And I don't know if this is
So-
going to impact the permitting process, but I think now that we've received the Fotholson second opinion, that's going to give us a lot to, I know we're going to talk about this on Friday, but that seems to take things in a possibility of a very different or augmented direction from what path we've been on. And, you know, it's going to be great if Steve and those folks can get together and we figure out what's best for the
Right.
long term here. But that report, and I'd encourage everybody to read it if they can, is, it does take us in a little different direction with a lot of different options than what we've submitted for.
All right. Anything else on that? All right. Next topic is discussion of the matrix for public services and facilities. So we have where, are we just starting at the top, or did we leave off? I'm trying to remember where we were last we spoke. We were
Looks
gonna
like there's
have
a lot
these.
more information on this grid.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I think that we have, you know, this grid is, it's sortable and by kind of priority cost. And we have presented it in a number of different ways over the months. This is everything that's assigned to the committee. It's not been sorted by high priority by low cost. There are some notes that Amy and Robert have updated in terms of the status of each of those recommendations.
How would you recommend we go about, I mean, there are 200, and, I mean, I'm just looking at our page, and we've got number 238 on the recommendations,
Yeah.
which means there are a lot of recommendations that haven't really been sorted out by, we've talked about this a few times, I feel like we're in a bit of a loop, but by timeline, and, do we even have the money to address a lot of these with everything that's on our plate? I know I've got my feelings about that, but I'm trying to figure out, how do we get our arms around 238 or 250 recommendations that really haven't been completely flushed out as far, and they're all good. I mean, I'm not taking away from the work. It's been phenomenal work to come up with this list. But, you've got your hands full. I think the staff has got their hands full. How do we get our arms around prioritization? Should we be homing in on 3 or 4 of these per committee and just get them prioritized as to, 1, what can be done, 2, what do we have the money to do, and just kind of chip away at this from our prioritization and community impact. It's called community enrichment for a reason. And I'm just trying to throw out a suggestion on, we can't focus on everything given what we've got on our plates.
Yeah, so this has been, so every committee kind of has a matrix,
Yeah.
and every committee has approached it slightly differently. And I will say that committees without such a heavy lift each month, like the Planning Commission, the Environmental Advisory Committee, they're able to dedicate, 30 minutes per meeting to the matrix, and they're kind of working through, I guess, internally, how do we want to prioritize the list? They'll kind of look through it, get some low-hanging fruit, and say, okay, let's put this on the top of our list for consideration and recommendation.
Well, should
So
we
it's really
ask you,
being-
should we ask you if they're doing that, and if it's working, should we ask, the folks here to say, hey, what are your top 5 out of the entire list? And let's earmark 30 minutes and go through them, and if they, I think it should be, are they easy, or long? Do we have money for them? And maybe just home in on a few, I don't know, Katie, I'm just throwing this out as an idea. I just think we
Yeah, I
can't boil the
know.
ocean.
Every
with
time
all
I,
this, yeah.
every time I look at this, I get incredibly overwhelmed and,
There's some great ideas.
I don't know where to start. And-
Well, that's, no committee has done it that way, but we would be happy to go back, the
And you know
staff,
better
and just
than-
pick
you know
out
better than us
5.
what's doable and what's aspirational.
Yeah, that's
And
what I think, that's a real good idea. Let us kind of vet it, go through it,
Just
bring it to
5,
you. And
top 5.
if there's
Top 5,
something that
yeah.
you see that should have made the list, bring it up to us. But there is stuff that we are currently doing, so we can weed through all that.
And maybe those get green and they're complete and they're off the list. And then we,
Exactly.
bubble up the 5 that you all think, and I'm not 5 apiece, but just total of 5.
Yeah.
And what you think is doable, fundable, and implementable. And then we can really vet those, because I don't want to, we keep pushing it out, but, those folks have done a lot of work, and I think if we can focus on a few of them with everything else is on the plate, then.
And this is also just kind of like, almost more of like a housekeeping type thing, but a lot of these in one recommendation is 5 to 10 recommendations. For example, there's explore upgrades to outdoor space at the rec center and Carmen Bunch Park. And, there's a couple things in there that are probably pretty simple, and then there's a couple things in there that are bigger. There's a couple things in there that I think are good ideas, and then some that I don't really, see the benefit of it.
I think you got to base it on what you have as a budget too for those
Well, and
individual
that's-
places.
I
that'll
don't know.
make more sense.
I've never, the Carmen Bunch Park is, to me, it's a little bit, it's where we have it's kind of behind the Harris Teeter, it just doesn't seem like the most aesthetically usable front, so to put a bunch of money into something like that, to me, doesn't seem right now to be a good decision. So I mean, I just kind of feel like a lot of these things need to be separated out into actually like one thing that can actually, one thing at
Yeah.
a time, as opposed to having 5 things that maybe 3 of them are good ideas and maybe 2 of them are, things that we need to put off for a later day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And even on the dollars, just, ballpark, give us a range or something, and then on the timeline, same, we just got to start drilling down.
Okay.
I'm kind of with Katie, and the aspirational ones are great, but we just might not be able to address them at this point.
well, I like the idea of just, we'll pick 5 and bring those back to you, and,
And then there's other things that like, just for example, the wayfinding signs. It says community enrichment, then it says public safety, then it says public services and facilities. Is that this committee or is that public safety? And who is actually in charge of those signs? Is that city? Is that DOT? I mean, I feel like we have a lot of different responsibilities for roads and, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about the signs on Forest Trail, the lack thereof. I was walking on Hartnett this weekend, and someone mentioned the fact that people speed through there. And the person I was talking to wasn't even sure what the speed limit is on Hartnett, because I don't believe there's signs, which would mean it would default to 25. But I remember this same exact thing happened on Forest Trail when I addressed Forest Trail, and turns out the speed limit was 15, not 25. I feel like it's more of a public safety thing than a facilities, but if we can just go out there and stick signs in, then that's great, let's do that.
Yeah, so I think specifically when you're talking about the wayfinding signs and how it goes to each department is because the wayfinding signs we will take care of. Those are the informational signs as you go to the beach.
Okay.
But then within those wayfinding signs are individual signs and ordinance for, say, off leash for your dogs or whatever else is on those signs. So I guess then that would fall back to PD because that is theirs. So maybe that's why there's all those different like public services, public safety. I believe on some of these signs also there is what we're going to have about rip current, so that would fall on fire department. So those wayfindings are like all departments basically have some information on there. That's where that may be. Speed limit signs, stop signs, that's all PD. Stop signs are DOT, so that kind of thing there. So yeah, it's, we do the street signs.
We do
So-
the names,
Names,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
Public Works, but all the,
4 foot from street, all of that is PD.
yeah.
Okay, so again, that's, and, it would be nice to have some sort of continuity, but understanding that that's when you have all these different
Right.
entities that are involved in,
Yeah, that's what I believe was with the wayfinding signs. We know specifically speeding, speed limit signs, stop signs, that's all DOT and police. But
okay,
that's why I think those signs have all those different departments on there, I believe.
so, again, it's confusing, and it's, yeah, we gotta figure out a way to try to get this streamlined and accessible.
yeah, it's a lot. I mean, and again, it's, just to remind you, this is actually, there's comprehensive plan in here, there's the community enrichment plan, there's a sea level rise plan, and there's a lot of redundancy, there's a lot of grouping together that can be done, so,
The fabulous 5.
yeah. Yeah, I like that. That'll make it more
Let's get-
digestible.
Let's get focused on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for next meeting, have 5?
Yeah.
That's fine.
And as much just framework around them as you think is doable and viable and, implementable.
Okay.
You know the drill.
Do we want 5 that we can get done, like, is this 5?
That's why I'm asking these
Is
folks.
it, yeah, I
They-
mean,
they know
and I
what
guess
the-
that's the question, is this 5 things that, like,
You think we ought to pursue?
you would love to see, or that we can do, or all
We're going
of
to
the
take the
above?
directive to be 5 that we would love to see.
Okay.
And it's going to enrich the
But that might
community
not be
and
what council-
doable and
Okay.
all that
Indubable.
great
right,
stuff, yeah.
In budget, or
If-
has a
Yeah,
budget, or something. to
Or that we can go
effect.
find it from somebody else.
Well,
That'd be-
yeah, I
that'd be
mean, because
preferable.
I guess that's my thing, like, don't like, if there's something that's really important, but it's not, you think it's not within the budget, don't necessarily leave that off, because I feel like those are the kind of things that we need to start having conversations about, like, that, oh, well, maybe we can't do this year, but we need to start looking at this for a couple years
Right,
down the
long
road,
term,
or,
right.
yeah. So,
Okay.
all right, sounds, a lot to look forward to.
Carrie knows.
We might need
Keep in
to,
mind, we're down 2.5 employees.
Yeah.
So we're a little
Oh,
bit
right.
stressed.
Yeah.
we might
And
need,
I think we got to deal with that. That's the reality of what can we really do versus what can we,
Yeah,
with what we
exactly.
got. I mean, everybody's got a full plate here.
I think at the rate we're going, we're gonna need to schedule the next meeting for like a weekend retreat. So maybe just block off a couple days. All right, on that note.
So staffing, you're all down? You're down?
We're down 2 CDL drivers plus a part-times. We do have one under CDL class apparatus, so we've got a part-timer hired that can only drive non-CDL class. But we're down 2 CDL drivers. I got 7.
And are you interviewing for more, or do we
Yes.
have applications and,
We
In the
had
works.
one interview the other day. We've got one applicant, have yet to set the interview up. Waiting on human resources there, but she's been inundated with work. And we've got the part-timer that works the Monday, Tuesdays, which is when it's needed, when we're doing garbage, so we're stressed.
well, good luck.
That's a third of my staff, just so you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, we-
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay. And next, we have an update on RFB for beach debris removal services.
Yes, so this is the service, the yellow barrel service that we've traditionally done on the beach. We're transitioning that to the roadside. Robert has had that out to bid for a better part of a month.
Yeah.
We only got one bid back, and instead of opening that bid, we wanted to try to drum up additional bids. So we were hoping to have that, having had a competitive process to bring that to you all at this meeting, to work through council this month. Because we only had the one bid, we've extended it to
The 9th.
the 9th.
So we'll just wait until the next
Yeah, and
cycle?
then-
Yeah.
Well, so we're a
Any
little,
new interest?
So then I reached out, once we got the one bid in, I reached out to what was Carolina Waste, which is now Waste Connections. They had no interest. Reached out to Republic, no response. Went back to our current contractor that we're using now and asked him if he would reconsider. He said he had time constraints that would keep him from being able to do it within the city's timeframe, which the model we're working towards. So he didn't want to put it in a bid.
Who does Sullivan's Island use?
They,
They don't?
it's just
No,
regular.
no, you don't want to go there?
They have they contract with Republic for their whole city.
Yeah.
And they
That's part of
stage
it.
all of their beach path cans that stay at the street year-round, and that contract with Republic services those, not only single-family residences, but also the beach.
They've got that's just part of their, and so,
Part of their
so they're there, the incremental expense would not, yeah.
Right,
okay,
and their
that
cans
model.
are right on the beach, so they,
Yeah, I go over there quite a bit,
yeah,
yeah.
right on.
on the road or?
On the road.
On the
On the
road.
road. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, did I say beach?
Yeah.
I meant to say road.
Yeah, they're all on the
street,
road.
Yes.
On the street.
They're just lined up, you'll have
Yeah.
8 or 9 of them in a row, yeah.
So ours is a different approach. We have some that are just on the other side of the dune.
Yep.
and then also street side. So there is some pulling back and forth. So that's where, this contract is a little bit specialized.
Have you heard any impacts, positive, negative, otherwise, on pulling them back to the street? It seems like
Yeah,
it
we
seems like it's
haven't-
working okay, and
Yeah, it's
the
really been
debris not.
working out,
piling.
and, with what we're having as far as tides here too, it would have been impossible to have those
Yeah.
yellow barrels back on the beach in both locations, both ends of the islands. So that's been a huge plus. We pulled all the yellow barrels off the beach, prior to when we thought we were gonna have this storm. And, I drove the beach, couple times since then. There's nothing out there. We've had some good crowds out there. I think people are getting used to it. I know in Wild Dunes, that was like almost an experiment, and people were bringing their garbage back to the condos or back to the receptacles that we had in place. So
Would we get more bid interest if we adopted, I'm just thinking out loud here. If we adopted tweaked our model a little bit so that they're not walking all the way down and back on a couple of locations, would we potentially attract other bidders? I'm
So to
just
follow
throwing
the
that out.
Sullivan's model of having them only at the road?
I'm just throwing that out. Is the deterrent for interest because of the hoofing back and forth?
I would assume so.
yeah, I would believe some of the stretches are 140, 150 feet that they have to pull these cans from the beach, long boardwalks.
And how many of those, I know we did Front Beach, we're doing Front Beach that way, correct?
I think there's 15 dual locations, so that would be just over the dune, so just take Ninth, for instance, right? One
Yep.
will be just over the dune, and then one will be street side, so that location, but your Ninth is a short run there, really, when you look at it. You start getting down to 34th,
a long
56,
way,
it's a
yeah.
long run. And I do believe, when we removed the yellow barrels from Ninth all the way down to Breach Inlet, we only had them in one location all summer long from the spring. No problems whatsoever. I think there was 3 beer cans that were out there at one point that somebody reported. And so I do believe, yes, and Donnie and I have discussed this before, if they weren't in that second location by the dune,
We'd get more interest.
I think you'd get more interest. It's an easier operation.
And I think all of Sullivan's are longer, Sullivan's has a lot longer run than we do, so
Yeah.
it's almost behavior change is really what you're
Yes,
talking about here,
exactly.
so.
And we've even put signs out, when we did that transition, we had signs made that says, beach garbage is now located street side, so.
Should we
Just-
explore even floating a RFI or an RFQ or whatever with that model, just to see if we get some interest, and then it's kind of a cost benefit here. If we've got only 15, I think at Ninth Avenue, that wouldn't be a problem to just go beach or street side.
Yeah.
I'm just.
You're walking
throwing it
off
as
the
an
beach
idea.
anyway. It's a
Yeah.
matter of carrying
just-
the bag
Yeah.
another 100 feet.
I mean, the environmental committee, you remember, we kind of
That's how
went
we got to
through
that.
them, and that's
Okay.
how we got through. The dual locations, to me, from what I've seen, because I dove into this whole thing to kind of make this model, is really for dog waste. That's really what it ends up being, in cans, some cans, but I believe you could change it so.
As a dog owner, I can walk it to the street.
Aren't
That
you
would be
mostly out there for
too,
exercise
yeah.
anyway? What's a little bit more walking? It's good for you.
Anyway,
Get
just
your
a
steps in.
consideration, maybe even float it just to see what would happen without, and maybe that's an option we can take a look at. I don't know, I'm just,
I mean, is
throwing an
it-
idea.
I
Or
mean-
is having one bid,
Well, that's the thing.
Doable.
So the one bid that we did not open was from Trident Waste, who, put in the bid for all our commercial dumpsters.
Which makes sense for them.
Right, they
Should
happened to
be
be the lowest for that. That went out
Logistics.
to Republic, Carolina Waste, Waste Connections. So they were the low bid on that.
They also do Kiowas, so they're
Yeah,
in the Kiowa has a similar program to what we're adopting. They're doing it there, so they may kind of be the only operation doing it locally.
That's kind of how we modeled
Yeah.
what is out for bid now is the Kiowa
Right.
approach.
how long is the contract for?
Uh,
If we were to,
It's just for a year,
1 year?
right? And then I think it would be then,
Automatic,
Auto
with
renew.
both parties
yeah.
more
We'll
bids.
see what happens on the 9th. yeah.
Yeah.
And if not, I think we would plan to just open the one bid that we have, talk it through at workshop and see but we certainly could, I guess the downside would be, we're really at the end of our rope with our current vendor.
Yeah,
And I think he's continuing to do it
Yeah.
while we kind of work through this month. I don't know that he would be willing to do it for,
A longer term.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of if we
Yeah,
were to
that makes
start,
sense. Yep.
start over.
And I mean, and just in thinking, when we went through the environmental committee, there was kind of a lot of input on having that second location, and I
That
get
makes-
it too.
yeah, I don't
Like,
wanna
you know, I
overrun their
would walk the
recommendations.
extra
Yeah.
distance, but for some people, so I think, the model that we made, I think it'll work
Okay.
really good. It gives people options. The unfortunate part is that we only have one bid, but Trident was the one who won on commercial dumpsters, so
It
to
makes
me,
sense-
in my
it makes sense
mind,
for
it
them.
seems like, they would be the right way, but I know that's not the way things work.
So I think that actually takes us really flawlessly into our next
Yep.
subject. Yes, transition to dumpster services away from the city and to
Yeah.
Trident.
And that one also, yeah, that one
Very
seamless. Yeah, seamless.
Awesome.
Republic had reached out to me. I think Waste Connections already had the list of all the dumpsters that were being serviced out there. So they all did, I guess it was late August, early September is when they reached out to me, and they went around and we didn't hear, I think, one question really about a service. But yeah, and they took
Then they
over.
went Trident. so-
Yeah, and then it took over October 1st, is when
Great.
they took everything over, and we haven't heard a word, which is a good thing. Yeah,
No news is good news.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And the last thing is the Public Works equipment and the scraping of the roads, the big, this is the chomper thing, right? The chomper situation.
Yeah, so,
Handle it.
yeah, Donnie and I went up, well, we saw the pictures from the resident that posted that. I will say it's not a perfect system, but the driver, we spoke to the driver or the operator of the machine. A lot of times, it's a branch that will hang down, and when he goes to grab it, that branch scrapes it. He also has to put that metal bucket down on asphalt, which can scrape it. We're not denying that.
But there's no pressure now.
Right, so, like I said, is it a perfect system? No. But what we've done, and because this company makes these, so we used to use these, they're polycarbonate blades that can go on the bottom of a bucket of a big machine. So when it scrapes, we used to use them on these like high-end driveways for snow removal and all that. So when you go over them.
In a different light for Robert. This is not around here.
Yeah,
This is in New Jersey.
Because we have so much snow.
Because he understands
I know that
this. You would be going over brick paver driveways, cobblestone driveways, and you couldn't damage them. So it's a polycarbonate, it's a big, thick chunk of plastic on the bottom that bolts to it. It's specialized. I had to order it out of Las Vegas. It's 2.5 inches thick, so what we're hoping is when that blade goes down on the asphalt,
Some protection.
it'll give it some protection. And then, obviously, you're going to have sticks that, he goes into the pile, he pulls back. If there's a stick hanging under, that will drag, but, all we can do is try to, correct the metal portion of it and see how that works out. And
Now, are we addressing repairs with the Wild Dunes folks, or how does that all work?
It's gone.
It's already
For the
done.
most part.
yeah, we went up there. It's
That's
really
good.
what the branches make a
Good,
good mark on there.
all right.
But we'll try a different
It's
model
not
too.
gouging, it's the
Just a scrape.
petroleum on top that's scraping.
Oh, that's good.
There's no dig per se into the asphalt.
Good.
Great.
Well, your winter experience.
Yeah,
paying
this
off.
is paying
There you
off.
go.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
It'll probably melt when it gets real hot.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that, I believe, is the last thing. Our next meeting, the one that we're going to need 2 days for, is November 5th and 6th.
So that is a day off. That's a day after election.
Okay, yeah, so Wednesday, November 5th.
Does that work for everybody to
9
delay it
a.m.
a day?
I think
Sure.
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I may have a.
Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I may have an
He can handle
appointment,
it.
but I'll,
Done.
let's just stay with this day for now, and I may have to go out of state for something. But
You might have a conflict.
I gotta do my little Florida trip. but-
Okay.
But let's keep it for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just let us know. If that doesn't work.
Yep.
All right,
Motion to adjourn.
all in favor? Or
Aye.
second, all in favor? Aye. All right, off the record at 10 o'clock on the dot.
Well, thank you all.
Well done.
Thank you.